Hi everyone, Trina here. And I can't put this book down today, so it's awesome. And I think I have the day off, which is nice, so I can spend some time with you. And we can read and we can learn and take the journey of Atlantis together. So here we were going, and let's see. We were August 23rd. Okay, I wanted to read this to you guys before we begin, and it was about symbolism. And I don't know why the book just opened up to this, and it just drew my attention. And I was like, okay. So this was a poem by Kuthumi, and it's one of the primary pieces of information worked on in trying to understand the master's teachings on symbolism. So this is a poem. We see with the mind's eye and glisten like the crystalline. When we observe the light bodies adapt to the crystalline. The universe has no boundaries. The lakes take no form. The animals have no idols, and all humans are torn. The crystalline will renew all life and all its forms. Children of light will be reborn, and the earth will be adorned. So hasten to Bimini. Come on, come one, come all. Move into the crystalline and reclaim the hall. Justice will be served. The night draws to an end. Move with confidence and courage to your journey's end. You have waited so long for this moment to come. Lead the way, O children. The stars wait for some. Know the truth will be revealed in the days to come. See justice fulfilled as the plan will be done. I thought that was just beautiful and appropriate for the times that we're in. So, the group was wondering about their safety going to the Middle East and Egypt when war was getting ready to break out in the nation. So they asked Kuthumi. They were worried and concerned about their trip to Greece and to Egypt. And this was what Kuthumi's response was. I, Kuthumi, come through this frequency to provide you with the assurance and love that no harm will come to you on your journey for the command. It has been requested of you that you take this journey at this time for the purpose of providing the beloved Terra with the great wisdom and light. In your travels, you will notice that your courage and your dedication to the command will not in any way deceive you. Your journey will be one of peace, happiness, and harmony during a time of strife, anger, and trickery. Yours will be the path of the divine, walked among those who travel the paths of deception. Both you and Rudy have tremendous courage, and you are admired for your strength. You have completed similar journeys in different lifetimes. It is at this time that you draw strength from the remembrances of those former courageous days. Take the itinerary that was provided to you when on your journey. Note the suggestions that were made and make the best use of your time in the relaxing and meditation states. This will maximize the opportunities for enlightenment and joy. We stand watch and protect you both. We also wash the path in front of you, wherever you travel. Know that truth will set you free. The world needs the courage of the commanders. The world must be set free by the star children who know no fear. This is a true test of courage and a measure of mastery over fear. You both have found that your powers of manifestation are increasing. In this knowingness, you understand the laws that we have taught you and that they are indeed true. Stay in your centeredness at all times and open your minds and hearts to many. Many lives will be touched by the energies of your higher selves. Know this and take the journey seriously as you walk the paths of your former days in Egypt. See the light all around and consciously place that light within the temples and the sacred places everywhere you go. The trek in Egypt will not only be that which you visualize. You will understand more than you consciously realize at that moment. Hear and read the signs of the times around you and learn to register the impressions within your subconscious. You should do this. You will have mastered the path of Sananda if so. He who walked that valley so many years before, he understood the terror and the anguish of the people of the earth. He knew that only truth sets you free. You must also live your truth and know that the world awaits the commanders who will master truth to walk in the shores of the Nile once again. Carry the banner of the command with you wherever you go. Understand that the vision of the highest is what will guide you through all of your coming days. When I said in the earlier months of your year that after June your life would not be the same, did you ever expect to see such unforeseen circumstances? Consider this not to be a test of vibrational love, but instead a test of commitment to the command. Know that your courage will gain high honors on the path, and the world will gain much in frequency for your dedication and efforts. Each soul is measured by the contributions that it makes. Each soul contains immense power and love, and it has the capabilities of ruling the world. All know that their destinies are to serve, but few understand that they have the opportunity to be selected. Walk the journey with confidence and light. We will guide each step until you discover the truths and realize that you never needed us to guide you in the first place. The divinity within you is so intense and beautiful. The light from within you is truly the source of power for the world. If all understood this, the way you are beginning to, there would be no war, no hardship on your beautiful planet. Go in peace and share the bread of life. I now close this communication, but look forward to meeting you on the etherical in the Temple of Love this evening. In the etherical, in the Temple of Love. That could be a fun destination. In the etherical, in the Temple of Love. I like it. Adonai, my children and commanders, I am your dedicated father and teacher for the next several weeks. We shall receive and relive many happy moments together. Adonai. And Master Kuthumi was done speaking. Kuthumi's words were comforting and encouraging, but the anxiety levels were still a little elevated. This journey was a true test of courage and commitment. The 5 friends met the night before Rudy and Norma left for England to discuss the last-minute details. Interestingly enough, when the world situation was discussed, all five admitted that they were experiencing an inner sense of calmness that they had not understood before. That was significant for them all, and it made the trip much easier. It was during this meeting that one member of the group stated that he had had the opportunities a few days earlier to meet with a Mayan priest from the Yucatan who was visiting the United States. The Mayan priest told him that he had also received information regarding the opening of the Egyptian portal and that it was scheduled to close on September 10th. This information had come through independently from the messages that this group had received. It was more than coincidental that this information should match so perfectly. Kuthumi had never given dates for the opening or closing of the portal. He only suggested general time frames for the group and the group's departure. But when Norma heard this, her heart sank. According to the itinerary, it had been set for the tour that they had selected, and when they were confirmed to join, they were scheduled to be at the King's Chamber on September 11th, one day after the closing of the portal. To add to the dilemma, she and Rudy were scheduled to depart early the next morning, and that was now 8:00 p.m., and there was no time to change the itinerary. It was clear that the problem had been created when she and Rudy had interjected the 3-day stay in Greece without consulting Kuthumi. Kuthumi had first stated that they were to spend 7 days in England and 9 in Egypt. Yep. If they had followed that itinerary, there would have been no problems. Since the itinerary had scheduled stopovers in Athens before entering and leaving Egypt, it was clear that they should have planned to stay in Greece only at the end of the trip. The other problem was that Norma perhaps had not asked enough questions to get adequate information to prepare for the trip. The few times that she did ask for transmissions, Kuthumi only responded to the details that pertained to the major events of the journey. Everything else had already been taken care of with the travel agent. Well, it was too late now. Feeling somewhat perplexed and defeated, they began their journey, hoping that all things were still in divine order, but not really having faith that they were. How could they possibly get out of this dilemma? It seemed hopeless. Needless to say, they should never doubt the masters. For one thing, everything occurred as the messages stated, with more ease and joy than they could have imagined. The trips to England and Greece were spectacular. Coincidences sprang up continually. Connections with significant individuals were made that could have not been anticipated. It was hard to even imagine that war was brewing so near, as the magic of the journey was so powerful. The inner transformation that occurred in Greece for both Rudy and Norma was surprising, to say the least. Something was activated within their heads after they journeyed to Delphi. Yeah, I must concur. It completely happened to me too. They each experienced a strange sensation within the third eye area, in which pictures like slides were flashed nonstop in their heads. As long as an hour. This happened to me over and over again. I thought I was going crazy for a little while. It was profound. I almost couldn't deal with it. But I kept saying, show me the truth no matter what the cost. And it kept coming. Be careful what you ask for, y'all. Be careful what you ask for. So the flashes were nonstop in their head for as long as an hour. They could not shut it off. This was a phenomenon that was unlike any other. It was not painful, nor was it annoying, but they could not really control it. Pictures in full color flashed through their brains in fractions of seconds. Each was a complete image with a dialogue and a story. Full comprehension, yes. The pictures were moving so fast that their conscious minds could not retain the information. True, you digest it later in pieces. This happened to Norma when she was sleeping one night. She awakened suddenly around 1 a.m. and experienced this phenomena for approximately 1 hour before drifting back to sleep. The same thing happened to Rudy when he was on the plane flying from Athens to Cairo. They experienced a different phenomena on the way to to the Parthenon. Suddenly, with no warning, as they were walking up the steps to this site, Norma had a total recall of past life in that area. I did too. It is an amazing site, and it's up on a vast hill, and you look over Athens. It's beautiful. She began to describe the buildings, where they were positioned, the people, what they wore, their mannerisms. Yeah, it's like you could see everything. It was amazing. I was having the same experiences. She did not know where this information was coming from, as she had done no prior reading on Greece before starting the trip. There had been no time to study. She had barely had enough time to bring through the information and the messages regarding the journey. Wow, it was so fascinating. And what was so fascinating about the continuing experiences were the details that she was recalling, and they were all being verified by guides and friends at the small museums that they toured later on the trip. The question was, from whom or where did all these facts and knowledge come from? Why did this phenomenon even occur? More importantly, what was the meaning of all these occurrences? And how did these experiences like these relate to life and business as usual? The trip to Egypt was even more eventful. The group of 5 met at the Athens airport, boarded a plane, and headed for Cairo. They arrived approximately at 9:00 p.m. and hurried off to their hotel. The itinerary for their tour stated that they were to spend 2 days in Cairo visiting the museum, shopping, and touring other sites. They were also to take a plane to Aswan, where they would board the riverboat and cruise up the Nile, stopping at selected temples along the way. After 3 days, they were to return by train from Luxor to Cairo, where they would visit Memphis and the Great Pyramid of Giza. They then had 2 free days in Cairo on their own. They constituted the 9 days in Egypt. When they arrived at the hotel, it was nearly 11:00 p.m., and no one was waiting for them because of the lateness of the hour. All of the other members of the tour had come from New York together, but because of Kathumi's schedule, the 5 of them had made special arrangements to meet the tour group in Cairo. Therefore, they arrived too late to find out when they should join the larger group the next morning to tour the Cairo Museum. Sorry, I dropped my bookmark. Before they left Albuquerque, the travel agent had told them to prepare to be awakened early in the morning to go on the tours for August and September were the hottest times of the year in Egypt. Often the tour groups would get started very early in the morning to avoid the scorching dry heat of the afternoon. So 5 of them were prepared for this, but because they had not yet begun the tour from the New York with the rest of the group, none of the 5 spoke the native language. They did not know the name of the tour group leader. Consequently, they did not know how to get information on the next day's activities. Therefore, they were forced to trust that it would all just work out perfect. They were assigned rooms, and they went to them. They unpacked their suitcases, knowing they would be there for 2 more days, and went to bed. At 3 a.m., they were awakened by an Egyptian steward knocking at their door, telling them to get up and begin the day. They remembered that the travel agent had told them about starting early, but this was absolutely ridiculous. With 2 hours sleep, it was a little hard to swallow, having to get up in the middle of the night to see the museum. It seemed absurd. Finally, 2 of the group members decided to go down to the lobby to see if they could get more information on what was happening. They were quickly informed that the river cruise boat that they had booked suddenly had developed engine troubles. The tour company was forced to combine their groups to another, which meant that the days were moved from a 2-star cruise to a presidential 4-star cruise at no extra cost, and that the itinerary had to be shifted, that they were leaving for Aswan that next morning, which explained the 3 a.m. wake-up knock. With this itinerary shift, it became evident that the 5 of them would be making their debut in the King's Chamber on September 10th. Was there a doubt as to the master's power? The 5 of them stood there at 3:30 a.m. stunned, looked at each other, and just smiled. The level of movement and swiftness and its power were awesome. It tends to make one think, just who is in charge anyway? With this new information, the members of the group ran back to their rooms to repack, for they had approximately 20 minutes to get their things in order to start the journey. They mobilized quickly, and they were off to the Temple of Isis. To describe all that occurred subsequently would require a novel. The events unfolded in a fashion similar to those described in this book. Day after day, the group members were humbled, transformed, and awed by the coincidences and the synchronicity of the events that occurred. There was no stress, no threat, even though the threat of war was now being experienced very near to the borders of the country. As always, each experienced everything on a personal level and was guided to completely personal rituals, meditations, and prayers in selected sacred sites. The missions were completed on September 10th in the King's Chamber. All was perfect. The group members went their separate ways, with Norma and Rudy heading home, and the other 3 moving on to Greece and the Greek islands to complete their own itineraries. On the way back to the United States, feeling very empowered, they actually had accepted the challenge to complete the journey. They began to reminisce about the last few weeks and what the journey had actually meant. Rudy, in almost a flippant voice, said, "Why don't you just ask KH, meaning Kuthumi, where he would like us to go next?" Taking out a piece of paper, Norma asked the question of Kuthumi, and he replied, "Why not consider taking a journey to one of Earth's most powerful vortexes? We suggest the Bermuda Triangle." Rudy and Norma just stared at each other. Shivers went up and down Norma's spine. Thus, the explanation for this book. It is important for the readers to have some background information regarding the concept of the Templar in order to understand Kuthumi's reference and why and now those messages connect. Therefore, a brief explanation follows. In August of 1989, Norma began to receive messages from Kuthumi on a structure to be built that would be a temple and a center for spiritual learning. The Ascended Masters named this structure the Templar. Norma initially thought that this would be a small center to serve a local area. Additional messages from Kuthumi soon made it clear that this was to be a huge structure of great magnificence, which would serve all upon the earth. It would be built in the shape of a pyramid with a 500-foot square base. As further information came through, it became evident that this structure would have an impact of immense proportions upon the world. One message gave the mission and 5 purposes of the structure. The message stated that this structure will be a tribute to God and the Creator of all, be a tribute to be a tribute to humankind and reflect the paths and the accomplishments of humans throughout the ages. 3, be positioned as a stabilizing force for the earth to assure that the planet will not shift on its axis. 4, to serve as an interdimensional communications center to allow the earth to communicate with the other celestial bodies. And 5, serve as a transformational chamber to transform the physical bodies into light bodies for all initiates who are ready to journey into the higher commands. Wow, that sounds very interesting, and I think this was going on in Atlantis. So the Great Pyramids, the crystalline, because these were made out of crystalline substances in Atlantis. They were some kind of special stone and crystal. Amazing. So they will reflect upon the accomplishments of humankind throughout the ages, be a stabilizing force to Earth to assure the planet will not shift on its axis. I wonder if it's supposed to shift, though. And then number 4, as an interdimensional communications center to allow the Earth to communicate with the other celestial bodies. We already can communicate with the other celestial bodies. Serve as a transformational chamber and transform physical bodies into light bodies. Very interesting. Okay, so since the initial messages, nearly 100 transmissions have come through describing this structure in detail. The Templar will be built in the southwestern United States. You've got to be kidding me. I was born in the land of the Phoenix. It's in the southwestern United States. In a message delivered to the United Nations Parapsychology Society in New York on October 3rd, 1991, Cthulhu stated that the structure is the rebuilt Solomon's Temple, holy moly, which has been prophesied for centuries, the Third Temple. The scope of this project and its impact on the planet have required that an organization be established to support its construction. This organization is called the Trinity Foundation, and it is composed of a council of 12. For more information on this project, please contact and see the please see the informational page at the end of this book. This Templar is destined to be the subject of another book, since it is not. Oh my God, is it Luxor? Interesting. I just saw the pyramid in Vegas. The Templar is destined to be the subject of another book, since it is not the subject of this book. Only a brief explanation is provided here to help the reader see the connections to all the activities, projects, and transmissions that the Ascended Masters are spearheading. Codes and keys have been introduced previously in the Templar messages, so this concept was not foreign. It was not a surprise that the same approach was taken in the delivery of these messages. The messages that were transmitted later for the Bimini trip were all coded by Cthulhu for us to decipher. After these messages were received, and after the journey to England, Egypt, Greece, and Bimini, the Masters reaffirmed and sent through the precise alignments of the stars and the constellations connecting the Templar with the heavens. What this message revealed is that we first had to journey physically to these locations to receive the programming and to activate the etheric records before this information could be sent through. Interesting. If you, the reader, have traveled recently to Stonehenge, you are aware that the authorities have roped off the area. They've roped off the area, yeah. Allowing tourists to approach the monument moving only counterclockwise. Wow. This confused Rudy and Norma at first, so they proceeded to walk around the monument as far as the path would permit, almost the entire circumference. When they reversed the course and walked clockwise, the instant they did this, they both felt an energy shift in their bodies. The action created a distinct sensation, almost like a soft buzzing. The effect felt within their heart and their solar plexus areas. It was very real and powerful. This was interpreted as the alignment of the currents of energy that Cthulhu had talked about in the message. For the reader who chooses to journey to Stonehenge, it is suggested that you might want to try this procedure following Cthulhu's suggestions to see if you experience the same sensation. It has been written that Jesus passed his final initiation in Egypt. When God said, "Out of Egypt I have called my son," Some believe that this means Jesus assumed mastery. After he passed his 12th level of initiation and testing in the mystery schools of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza is where all final initiations took place. While this message was being transmitted, a tremendous storm was occurring outside. Lightning was crackling everywhere, and sections of Albuquerque were temporarily flooded. Norma and Rudy had already planned a 3-day stop in Greece between their visits to England and Egypt. In doing so, they had not consulted Kuthumi and were not aware that this action actually complicated the sequencing and timing of the trip. They were to find out later that it did, and they were shocked to see just how swiftly the masters were able to correct the problem that they had accidentally created. Yep. Okay, next we will be beginning Chapter 2. The plan begins. So those who went to Egypt were intrigued by the messages that were received. And the next trip could be to the Bermuda Triangle to work in a powerful Atlantean vortex near Bimini. Soon after returning home, a woman who had also gone to Egypt came to Norma for a private reading. At that session, they asked the question about the proposed trip to Bimini. The answers received from Master Kuthumi contained the first details about the journey, and they are reproduced below. The trip is a reality if you choose to go. We would like to personally escort you to the highest energy point known, to the beloved Terra, and the request that you be accompanied by a group representing the divine. We share the highest memory of that civilization and inform you that soon points in that Atlantean energy vortex will be reactivated for the planet. The ideal time for entering the portal is the second weekend in the month of February. This portal of time will be opened for only 3 weeks, and it will open on the 9th of the month. It is advisable that your journey into the power spot coincide with the opening of this portal. Soon other souls of lesser vibration will be traveling to this location and will be there and will not be there with purpose. This energy will weaken the connection. Thus, it is important to be there to access the energy before the others disturb the vibration. It is in the vibrations that the encoding will occur. It is in the vortex that the scheduling of the programming will take place. So, we will begin soon with more on Chapter 2 and Bimini, reconnecting with Atlantis. I will see you guys on the next. I love you so much, and I'll be right back with you, hopefully. Much love. Talk soon.